Welcome back on Dynamod. Today I want to propose you a video about the review about the Necron Army of Renown released by the Games Workshop with the White Dwarf 482 of November 2022. This is a quite important add and go to add to what we've seen the previous White Dwarf, the 481 of October 2022, where there was the Annihilation Legion that it was quite similar about the options. So this is specific one, and remember that this is something that anyway bring you with one thing. This is a sort of supplement of update, but you need anyway to see the Codex Necron. You can find in the description the playlist about as a referral, because all the units, all the rules are still valid about the Codex Necron, but you have specific limitations that are for this specific Army of Renown cult of the Cryptek, that it's about only be able to use the Cryptek and Canotech units with the keyword Cryptek and Canotech, but we see later the benefits and the requirements about specific ones for such cult of the Cryptek. And you have also to remember that this it can be used usually normally, so it's not because it's published as a Flashpoint part that you can't use for match. This, because doesn't have the keyword Flashpoint inside the rules, can be used as matched play, and this bring a lot to take note, because it's completely different from a simple update that it's only for the campaign and so on. This is official and you can use all such rules. Pay attention about the rules that make you be able to play with, so pay attention about this. What is the Army of Renown? It's an army that is famous along and so on, but remember that to be such Army of Renown, this one peculiar, it must first adhere to all the restrictions that laid for this Army of Renown specific, and it must be battle forced and must not include any specialist detachment. You can then make in a note in the army list faction that you create in for your roster, and all or some in the case gain the units gain the artifacts, stratagem and so on that are available for that Army of Renown. And you have to note that doesn't mind that you have an army that only have such units. If you don't declare that this is a specific Army of Renown, it doesn't get the benefits of it, so pay attention about this. About the Crusade Army of Renown, it can be used with the normal rules that follow the Crusade, but you can find, if you're interested about the Crusade, I'm not usually using it, so I'm not going to explain this. But then we go to see about all the rules related specifically about the restriction for such cult of the Cryptek. It's about your army can only include Cryptek, Canoptek, Necron Warriors, and Convergence of Dominion as units. But it's quite interesting, because anyway you have an important troop that it's the Necron Warriors, so you can play quite a lot in such way. Remember that the abilities of the Cryptek can be quite useful about the Necron Warriors. The Convergence of Dominion can be useful, but you have to think about the option about using. And obviously the Camp and the Cryptek are the best, because they were the tomb keep saving, so it's really quite a good thing about such things. So remember that this can be a good way to personalize in a lot of ways, because opposite what was about the Annihilation Legion, this make you really a lot of different ways to play a lot of different armies that can be based or on the Cryptek from the cells, or on the Cryptek, or you can combine them, so it's really quite interesting. Moreover, another restriction is that all units in your army must be drawn from the same dynasty, but I think that this is almost a suggestion that you can follow, because you can gain many more benefits using such, so I don't think that this is a real restriction. And then we go to see about the benefits. Here we have that all the units in your army gain the Cult of the Cryptek keyword, and it's obvious because you had to use in such a way to refer about the Cult of the Cryptek. Then we have something that I'm really quite worried about, because it says that for the purpose of the Command Protocol ability, you have to see the Codex Necron, all Cryptek units in your army have the Noble keyword. But I want to remember you that the GUI changed with the fax the way that the command protocol works, so it should not be referring about the Codex Necron, but about the facts themselves. So I'm really quite worried about having, because it means that you have anyway, even if it's changed to go to see about the Codex Necron itself, so have the older version about such changes for the common protocols. So it's making me doubting about such pieces. Then you had that you have access to the cult of the cryptic warlord traits, crypt arcana, and stratagems, and it obviously, because it's the way to change the way that you can work with. And then you had that cult of the crypt units in your army gain the Tomb Guardian ability that we see right now. About the Tomb Guardian's ability, it's composed of 3 points. The first one is that the units never gain a dynastic code, so okay, you simply forget about this. Then you add 1 to that characteristic of models in this unit, and this can be quite interesting, moreover, because it involves also the Necron warriors, so they don't become literally something that it's really resilience, but you can create quite a lot of combinations eventually using the Necron warriors. And also the Cryptek, it's not bad that they gain even more attacks that they can have yet. And the last one that it's quite important is that you can reroll the animation protocol rolls of 1 made for this unit, and it's basic. It's really quite amazing, this one, because okay, it's only about the 1, but it means that it works without any other options around, so it's something that it's really characteristic for such units of such armies, so quite nice. Then we can choose one warlord trait from such instead of the ones that are from the Codex Necron. The first one that you see, it's Master of the Cult, that make in your command phase you can select one friendly Cult of the Cryptek unit within, not wholly, but within the niche of this warlord, and until the start of your next command phase, each time a mod in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the attack it roll. So it's a way to make a sort of combat way, so it's not bad at all. The next one is Curator of Deadly Curiosities, that when you select this warlord trait, select one weapon that this warlord is equipped with, excluding the relics, obviously, and it improve the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon by 1, and add 1 to the strength and damage characteristic of that weapon. Remember that it's not referred about melee, you can also take about the shooting, and if you take about the melee, I want to remember that Tomb Guardians that add also about the attacks, so you can gain quite a lot about the options, so it's really quite interesting, this one, to combine if you want a model with such warlord trait, being the general, so technically the Cryptek, and it's coming to have a really great amount of combat, but it's a Cryptek, so pay attention about using this in such a way. Then we have Conductor of Legends, that make that in your command phase, select one friendly Cult of the Cryptek unit within 9 inch of this warlord, and until the start of your next command phase, if that unit is performing an action, it can make ranged attack without that action failing. It's quite important, this one, because it means that you can make that different units can make the actions and still not be useless, because they can't do anything but still shooting. So it can be quite nice to use, for example, some Necron warriors to put on defense of some objective and make this as an action, obviously if it's available. So it's really something that it's quite interesting, quite strategic, because you make that you can make the action and still try to do something using such, and I think that it's really quite useful as a warlord trait. Then we have Codifier of Lesser Beings, that make it that in your command phase you can select one friendly Cult of the Cryptek unit within 6 inch of this warlord, and one enemy unit that is visible to this warlord. Remember that a unit within 6 and enemy unit visible to the warlord, but without any range the enemy unit, until the start of your next command phase. Each time that friendly Cult of the Cryptek unit makes an attack that targets the selected enemy unit, you can add 1 to the attack's wound roll. So it's really quite interesting, and I think that can be really quite good if you think that it can be combined, if you are able to combine with stratagems, with having 2 generals, and you combine the first one that we see about the Warlord 8 Master of the Cult with this one, so that you can gain 1 to the hit and 1 to the wound roll for a specific unit. So it can be really quite intriguing about, so it's okay. But remember that to apply such, you have to design also a specific enemy unit about the wound roll. So you have to think a little about, but it's really quite interesting. Then you have Fluid Necrodermis that has 2 effects. The first one is that you can ignore any or all modifier to this Warlord for the move characteristic and advance roll and charge rolls made for this Warlord, so it's quite free eventually. The second one that once per turn, the first time a saving throw is failed for this Warlord, the damage characteristic of that attack is changed to 0. Remember that it works only for the damage, not to the mortal wound, only for it, but it can be quite interesting eventually, and so it's maybe not the best, but surely it makes you more free on the battlefield to move and so on. So you can take that eventually about having your general with the Warlord trait that it's able to be able to move on the battlefield without having any problem and still survive at least to 1 attack from the enemy, even if it's a big one. And then we have Infomonger, that in my opinion it's one of the best that you can choose about the Warlord traits of the Necron. It makes that in your command phase you can select 1 friendly Cult of the Cryptek unit that is within 6 inch of this Warlord, and until the end of the battle round, that unit benefit from both directives that are active command protocol in that battle round instead of the only selected one. It's quite important because it means that at least for one specific unit you are able to make that you gain both the benefits from that specific command protocol, and it's something that you have really to look at because it means that all the other units can be used as you want, but the specific unit that you choose, obviously you have to remember that you have to be within 6 inch when you do such with your general to that specific unit, but it means that you gain both the options. It means quite a good improvement of what that unit can do, and in some way it can also make that you have a lot of options available because each battle round you can do such. It's really quite amazing. Then we can see about the Cryptek Arcana, that are the artifacts, we can call it like that, specific only about the Cryptek, and this another to the others that you can see available in the Codex Necron. And we see before the parts about the effects of the various Cryptek Arcana available, and then about the points, so that you can see also about the points that you can add, that you must add to your units to be played this. So that the first one is Atomizer Stave, that it's only Plasmancer, and make that each time you use the Beerus Harbinger of Destruction ability, you roll 6d6 instead of 3. So it's a way to make that you can make a lot more damages. So it's a not bad improvement about the shooting of such options. So quite interesting. Then we have Auricular Mentor, that it's only about the Technomancer, that it's a specific ability that it's an aura, so it has a radius to talk about, so that while a friendly Cult of the Cryptek unit is within 6 inch of this model, each time a mod in that unit makes an attack, the target does not receive benefits of cover against that attack. You have to pay attention because it means that you only need to be within 6 inch of such to negate the cover of the opponent units. So it's really quite interesting that it's for both the combat and the shooting, so pay attention. Then we have Auto Divinator, that at the start of your command phase, if the bear is on the battlefield, roll 1d6, and on a 5 plus you gain 1 command point. It's quite simple as option, but still it's available for all the Cryptek without any distinction, and it's something that can make you have this command point more. Technically, it should be only once per battle, because if you consider about 6 tunes available, it's not so easy to gain, but still it's something quite interesting to try eventually, to try to gain even more, maybe if you combine with other things with similar effects. Then we have Entropic Chronoshackle, that it's only for Chronomancers, and make that at the start of your opponent movement phase, you can select one enemy unit within 12 inch of the bear and roll a d6 on a 4+ until the end of the phase. That enemy unit cannot be selected to fall back. It's not useless, because anyway it can be really quite interesting to forbid to a unit to fall back and so keep where it is. At the same time, it's not so great because it's not automatically, it has not a great range because it's only 12 inch and it's on a 4+, so even if you have the option to be there, that the unit is in combat and wants to fall back, you have still to throw a dice and it's on a 4+, so it's not something that I suggest. It's something that it's similar to have, okay, eventually I want to do this, but it's not so good, I think. Then we have Neutron Shroud, that has two interesting abilities. The first one is that the bearer has a save characteristic of 2+. The second one, that it's once per battle before making a saving throw for the bearer, he can activate the Shroud, and if it does, then until the end of the phase, remember only the phase, the bearer has a 3+ invulnerable save. This can be happily combined with, for example, the Curator of Deadly Curiosities as Warlord trait. So you can play quite a lot with this one, and so I think that it's something that you can think if you want to preserve eventually your general better, because it's something that can be quite intriguing. And then we had the last one, that it's Obedience Nanoscarabs, that it's only available for the Psychomancers, that make that each time you use the Mirror Harbingers of Despair ability, you can select 2 of the effects instead of only one. Sincerely, it's quite interesting, this one. My real problem with the Psychomancer is that the abilities it's 3d6 against the bravery of the opponent, and so it's that one that doesn't make me appreciate quite much such a Psychomancer from itself, and the range, the effects and so on doesn't make me value a lot. Still, this can be quite interesting to make even more interesting such model eventually, if you yet play or you're interested to try to play it. And then we can see about the points. So I see only the points and not the powers. We have Atomizer Steve, that it's 15 points, the Auroricular Mantle, that it's 20 points, the Autodivinator, that it's 20 points, Entropic Chronoshackle, it's 30 points, the Neuron Shroud, it's 15 points, and the Obedience Nanoscarpet, it's 25 points. I like it because the 2 ones that I consider less in all the description are the ones that cost more. So I'm lucky, because I don't like both the Entropic Chronoshackle and the Obedience Nanoscarab. So okay, and what do you think about? Because sincerely, it's something that decreases even more my opinion about such Cryptek and the specific ones. We can talk about the stratagems that are specific for the cult of the Cryptek. The first one is Overkill Protocols, that it costs 1 command point, and it's related about the counter rights. You use this stratagem in your command phase, selecting 1 counter rights from your army, and until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack with Vicious Claws, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1, and each time a model in that unit makes an attack with Whip Calls, makes 1 additional hit roll. So it means that you double the attacks with the Whip Calls. So this can be a good improvement of the Cryptek rights. So I like quite a lot this option, and it's even quite cheap because it costs only 1 command point eventually. Then we have Stalking Annihilator, that it costs 1 command point. Make you use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select 1 Cryptek Doomstalker model from your army that made a normal move or fall back this turn. This model is eligible to shoot this turn, so even if fall back, pay attention. When it does so, you can select the high profile power of that model to stay blaster, even though that model did not remain stationary that turn. So it's a way to make that one of such model, even if it's taken in close combat by your enemy, you can make it retreat with the fallback and still shoot. So only one, okay, but still it's a way to make one at least counter Doomstalker quite interesting because it can make saving and at the same time shooting and killing some of the enemy. So quite intriguing. Next one, it's aggression overrides that costs one command point. You use this stratagem in your command phase, select one Cryptek spiders unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, you have 2 effects. So you add 2 to the move characteristic of models in that unit, and you change the weapon skill characteristic of models in that unit to 2+. It means that you can make such unit really quite crazy in combat, because it's faster and hit fast and better. So it can be really quite intriguing if you're going to play the kind of spiders to improve such unit, because you can gain quite a lot of tricks available. So quite intriguing and quite cheap for one command point. Then we had the swarms, the chance that it costs one command point, and it makes this stratagem used before the battle. Select one Cryptek Scarab Swarm unit from your army. That unit gains the dimensional translocation ability. So it means that it becomes really quite strategic because it's a unit that can ambush. You can put it in reserve and make that arrive later in the opponent field, or you can make that it reach on the side. You have to pay attention because it's not so easy to charge them, but still it's really a strategic option to not forget. And then we have one of the best about the stratagems, that it's Exalted Cryptek, that it costs one command point. Use this stratagem before the battle when you are mastering your army, so when you are creating your army. Select one Cryptek model from your army. Take the model can be equipped with 2 items of Cryptek Arcana instead of 1. You have to take note because it's going to refer to both the Cult of Cryptek Arcana specific and the Cryptek Arcana that you can find in the Codex Necrons. So you have both sources available, so you remember about this. You can only use this stratagem once unless you are playing a strike force battle, in which case you can use this stratagem twice, or an onslaught battle, in which case you can use this stratagem 3 times. Still, it's really quite interesting because it's a way to make a model really being able to be completed. Think about having the model that has a neutron shroud and having another options available so that you can make protected and still be able to play the roles that you need. It's really quite interesting, and really think when you create your army about using stratagems to begin with. Moreover, with the Cult of Cryptek, obviously. Have Cryptek Overdrive that costs one command point. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Cryptek Wright model from your army is destroyed. Until the end of the phase, each time a mod in this unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if that mod has not fought in this phase, do not remove it from the play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking model unit has finished making attack, and then is removed from the play. So it's a way to make it a last stand, so that even if it's killed, it can still attack, and I find it not bad at all. Remember anyway that technically it's a single use, better when the Cryptek Bright is removed from the battlefield. So pay attention because it's applied only in melee, and it's something that you have to take note. Still, it's available and it's really quite intriguing. Hyperdance Particle Beams that cost one command point, and you can use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Cult of the Cryptek unit from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a mod in that unit makes an attack with a particle beam or particle caster, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 2. Sincerely, if you think about the counter spiders, for example, that you can combine with other options in other phases, it can be quite interesting this one, because it means that you can make quite devastating about the penetration for your enemy, and even the Cryptek themselves can be improved quite a lot the way that they can damage the opponent. So I think that it's really quite intriguing as option about the stratagem. So remember, because it can be really useful. Now we had the last stratagem, that it's enhanced gloom prism that costs 1 command point. Use this stratagem in your opponent's psych phase before you take a denied witch test for encamped spiders unit from your army and add 2 to the result of the test. So it's a way to improve the way that you can make reply of effect that can in some way control the psyche, the opponent psyche. So I think that it's quite interesting. As you see, you can play quite a lot about the counter spiders, improving and using such stratagems on such units. So I think that it's really quite worth eventually to try them on your rooster. So from Dino Mode, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.